Victor opened the front door before I even knocked. His sweater vest slightly crooked the way it always was when he was genuinely happy to see someone. His smile softened the lines on his face until he looked past me toward the empty driveway. Cassidy. Why did you come by Lyft? His voice was warm, puzzled. Where's the Subaru Outback I bought you? The one for your markets. My throat tightened. I shifted the box of ornaments in my arms. Before I could finish, heels clicked sharply across the hardwood inside. Evelyn appeared, perfectly pressed, perfectly decisive. Oh, Dad, please. She waved her hand like brushing away dust. Let's not make a big thing out of it. The car just made more sense with Brielle's schedule. Victor's brows drew together. More sense for who? For Brielle? Obviously, my mother said, stepping into the doorway. She has shoots all over Orange County. Cassidy barely drives except to that little studio in Silver Lake. Her tone scraped something raw inside me. I opened my mouth. Mom, that car was purchased under my name. She cut in, which means I get to decide how it's used. And Brielle's brand needs mobility. She said brand the way other people said career, as if both words belonged exclusively to my sister. Brielle drifted into the hallway then, bathed in soft glow from a portable ring light she hadn't bothered to turn off. She sipped iced coffee through a metal straw and smiled at me like we were discussing something adorable. Cass, come on, she chirped. This is just logistics. My manager has me booked non-stop. You can Lyft. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. The phrase landed like a pin pushed under a fingernail. Victor's voice dropped low. Cassidy, come inside. I stepped over the threshold. The scent of rosemary chicken drifted from the kitchen. Family voices murmured somewhere farther in. None of it settled me. Victor pulled out a chair for me at the dining table. Evelyn stood tall at his side like she was presenting a case. This is what works for everyone, she said. Brielle needs the car more. Cassidy understands. I swallowed hard. I never said that. Her smile tightened. Well, you never complained. That was true, and she knew exactly why. The box in my hands shook, glass ornaments clinking against each other. Victor noticed. He rested a hand over mine. You look exhausted, he murmured. I'm fine, I said automatically. I wasn't, not even close. But there's always that moment before the dam breaks the quiet stretch where you still pretend you can carry everything. The moment where you swallow hurt because it is easier than being called ungrateful. As I sat there, Brielle lifted her phone and whispered, going live in 5, like the world revolved around her lens. Evelyn glanced at me. Smile tonight. Cassidy. We have guests coming. A small, practiced smile curled on my lips, but nothing about it felt real. If you have ever been the quiet one in your family, the one who carries, fixes, absorbs, then you already know exactly how that moment tasted. And if this story reaches you, follow along. What comes next is when things finally, irrevocably, snapped. I carried the box of ornaments into the dining room, keeping my eyes on the floor. The table was already set, Evelyn's version of perfection, where every chair meant something and every seat said who mattered. Victor motioned me to sit beside him. Brielle slid into the spot across from us, adjusting her hair and her phone camera. Lighting is way too yellow in here, she muttered. I'll fix it in post. Evelyn ignored her and looked at me. Cassidy, did you bring the new samples Brielle might want to feature one in a story? I brought them, I said quietly. Brielle wrinkled her nose. Only if the colors don't clash with my grid. Victor let out a low groan. It is an ornament, not branding collateral. To him, it was common sense. To her, it was an insult. She flipped her hair. My grid matters. Grandpa, people expect consistency. Cassidy understands. I didn't. But I also didn't fight it. Not back then. Lawrence appeared from the kitchen, carrying a platter. He gave me a soft smile, half apology, half helplessness. Dinner's almost ready. Evelyn clasped her hands. Perfect. We can eat once Cassidy tells us how the studio is going. I stiffened. It's fine. Fine, she repeated, as if tasting the word. Cass. Your studio is a garage the size of a walk-in closet. It works for what I make. And that's wonderful, she said, voice sweet as varnish. But you need structure. When Dad and I help, and when Brielle helps, we expect communication. Victor looked over sharply. Help with what exactly? Utilities, Evelyn said. Groceries. The little things. She waved her hand. We cover so much for Cassidy. I blinked. You do. She shot me a look, the kind that warned me to stay silent. Of course. Families share burdens. I opened my mouth, but Brielle cut in first. I mean, Cass doesn't have many expenses. She paints at night, sells at pop-ups. I handle actual marketing. Victor leaned back. Marketing using whose card? Brielle hesitated, then shrugged. It was easier to use hers. She barely checks it anyway. The room shifted, just slightly. Evelyn hurried to smooth it. Dad, let's not turn this into an interrogation. Cassidy knows everything we do is for her benefit. Her benefit. That phrase had followed me for years. When Victor gave me the Subaru, Evelyn said, this benefits everyone. When Brielle needed a ride, she said, this benefits your exposure. When the mortgage fell behind, Evelyn called me crying. It benefits the whole family. Cassidy. At the table. I traced the edge of the box with my thumb. Victor watched me closely. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. Something in me had begun to shift, even if no one else saw it yet. The night after that dinner, I stayed late at the studio, painting tiny evergreen branches on a row of glass spheres. My phone buzzed on the workbench. I almost ignored it until I saw the sender. Laguna House Boutique. My stomach dropped. The owner, Celeste, never texted unless something was wrong. Cassidy, I'm sorry to do this, but we need a full refund for the wholesale order. The pieces were lovely, but your sister said the packaging did not match your current brand direction. I read the message twice, then again. Because the words made no sense in my mouth, I called her immediately. Cassidy Celeste answered, gentle, hesitant. Celeste, I didn't approve a refund. She exhaled. Your sister said you wanted to start fresh. She processed the refund through your payment link. The entire order, $1,200, already reversed. I sat down hard on the cold concrete step. She had no right. I assumed she spoke for you, Celeste said softly. She sounded very certain. She always did. When I hung up, my hands shook too much to keep painting. I drove home another expensive Lyft, my chest tight and hot. Brielle was in the living room, filming a haul video, surrounded by boxes she hadn't paid for. She didn't even lower the camera when she saw me. Oh my God, Cass, you look wrecked, she said lightly. Can it wait? I'm going live. No, I said. It can't. She blinked, irritated by the interruption. What's wrong now? You refunded a wholesale order that took me 3 weeks to create. Brielle rolled her eyes. The boxes were ugly. They didn't match your aesthetic. They weren't supposed to match your aesthetic. I snapped. Evelyn walked in then, drawn by the tension. What's happening? I looked at her. She refunded an entire order. Evelyn frowned at Brielle, but only briefly. Sweetheart, you should have asked first. I was helping. Brielle insisted. Her stuff needs better branding. I'm trying to fix her image. I stared at her. You cost me $1,200. It's an investment, Evelyn said, stepping between us. Long-term brand cohesion. I laughed. A brittle sound I didn't recognize. Brand cohesion, I lost a client. Brielle shrugged. Clients come and go. Views are forever. Victor appeared in the doorway then, eyebrows raised. He had heard more than I wished he had. "Brielle," he said, voice low, "you owe your sister an apology." She lifted her chin. For trying to help, Victor's eyes shifted to me. "Cassidy, come here." The room quieted, but the damage was done. The refund wasn't just money. It was the moment something inside me cracked, quietly but completely. The restaurant was loud in that polished, controlled way expensive places always were. Evelyn insisted on celebrating her birthday in Irvine, somewhere appropriate for family images. Brielle had already chosen a booth with the softest lighting for filming. I sat at the end of the table, trying to make myself smaller. Evelyn lifted her glass before the appetizers even arrived. "To family," she said brightly, "and to Brielle, our rising star." Everyone clinked glasses. Phones recorded. Brielle beamed. Then Evelyn turned toward me as if noticing me for the first time. "And to Cassidy," she added, "for keeping her little hobby going. It is adorable, sweetheart." "Really?" A few guests laughed politely. Someone murmured, "So creative," in the tone reserved for children showing finger paintings. I kept my eyes on the tablecloth. Brielle leaned over. "Mom means well." She whispered loudly enough for the entire table to hear. "She just wants you to find your lane." "My lane," I repeated. "You know," she said, gesturing with her metallic straw. "Something stable. Something that isn't seasonal merch." I swallowed the sting. "It's not seasonal merch." "Brielle, it's my business." She raised an eyebrow. "It could be bigger if you let me manage your content. I don't want you managing anything." Evelyn clasped her hands. "Cassidy, don't start. You know Brielle understands this world better than you." "That world," Victor said from the other end of the table, "is not the only one that exists." Evelyn shot him a warning look. "Dad, please, let's not ruin dinner." Brielle angled her phone toward her face. "Going live in 3, she whispered. "Can you all just not talk for a sec?" Her followers flooded the screen as the comments scrolled. She positioned us behind her like props. "Family dinner," she narrated sweetly. "My mom's birthday. My sister is here too." She swung the camera to me. "Say hi, Cass." I forced a small smile. The comments hit instantly. "She looks tired. Which one is the influencer?" "Aw, the artsy one." Brielle giggled. "She works with ornaments. Very vintage. Maybe we can collab soon." I felt Victor watching me. His jaw tightened. Evelyn tugged Brielle's arm. "Enough, darling." Put the phone away. Brielle sighed dramatically but ended the live. The table settled, but something in me didn't. When the check came, Evelyn slid it across the table toward me. "Cassidy, sweetheart, can you cover this? I forgot my wallet in the car." Victor's fork paused midair. I stared at the check, 3 figures, written out in tidy cursive. "I paid last year," I said quietly. "And you can pay this year," Evelyn replied, voice honeyed. "It's just dinner. Just dinner. Just one more thing." I reached for my card with hands that weren't steady anymore. The night after the dinner in Irvine, I sat alone on the concrete floor of my Silver Lake studio. The space heater had died an hour earlier, leaving the air sharp enough to sting my hands. My phone buzzed on the work table. Another automated message from my bank. "Your account balance is negative." I read it 3 times before setting the phone down. I opened my laptop instead. The screen glowed too brightly in the dark room, but I needed something solid: numbers, not feelings. I created a new document and typed one word at the top: everything. Then I started entering dates, receipts, screenshots. At first, I moved slowly, as if I could soften the truth by pacing myself. But the lines kept growing, and the pattern became undeniable. "Groceries for the house," I murmured under my breath. Typing it in, $150. Edison bill, I added, $212. Car insurance, I whispered, even though the Subaru isn't with me. Each entry piled onto the last. I clicked through old statements, and the familiar wording hit me again and again. Creator Growth Suite, $320. Engagement Booster, $187. Influencer Toolkit, $92. Charges I had never approved. Charges Brielle had explained as for the family brand. I added them all. Then came the big losses, the Laguna order, the inventory she gave away for reach, the refund she issued without asking, the lost contract opportunities. Line by line. I rebuilt the year the way it actually happened, not the version they repeated to me. When I finally totaled it, the number stared back like a verdict, $22,740.63. My vision blurred. I wiped my face with both hands. Footsteps echoed softly outside the studio door. A hesitant knock followed. Cass Lawrence's voice drifted in. "You left dinner so fast. I wanted to check on you. I didn't move. Come in." He stepped inside, rubbing his hands like he wasn't sure what to do with them. "It's late. You should go home." "I will," I said quietly. He looked at the screen. "What are you working on?" "The truth." He swallowed. "Your mother means well. She just gets excited. Brielle, she's under pressure too." I kept typing. "They spent over $22,000 of my business money in a year and a half." His mouth opened, then closed. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. It wasn't. He sat on the edge of an unpacked storage crate, shoulders slumped. "Your mom thinks you can handle it." "You're so steady. That's why she keeps taking," I said. Lawrence flinched. The silence stretched, interrupted only by my fingers hitting the keys. "Cassidy," he said softly, "just talk to your mother." "I did," I said. She didn't hear me. "What are you going to do?" I stared at the total again. "Something different." He nodded once, as if afraid to ask what that meant. When he left, I reopened the spreadsheet. The number hadn't changed, but something inside me had. The heaviness wasn't just grief anymore. It was clarity. I picked up my phone and scrolled to Victor's name. He answered on the first ring. "Cass." I exhaled. "Can I come over tomorrow? I need help figuring out what to do next." His voice softened. Solid as ever. "Come first thing in the morning. I'll put on a pot of coffee." "Okay." "Cassidy," he added gently, "whatever this is, you don't have to endure it alone." I stared at the spreadsheet one last time before closing the laptop. "Not anymore," I said. Victor was already at the kitchen table when I arrived the next morning. A yellow legal pad sat in front of him, a pen aligned perfectly across the top. He looked at me for a long moment before speaking. "You didn't sleep," he said. "Not much." "Sit," he murmured. "Let's look at it together." I opened my laptop and turned the screen toward him. The spreadsheet glowed between us, the total sitting at the bottom like a weight that finally had a name. Victor adjusted his glasses. "Read it out loud." So I did. Every entry, every transfer, every little thing Evelyn said she covered, every creator charge Brielle made, every loss, large and small. When I finished reading, the room felt strangely quiet. Victor tapped the pen once against the table. "For every $500, he said, "I'm making a tick." He drew the first line, then another, and another. By the 10th tick, my throat was tight. At the end, he set the pen down. "That is a lot of ticks." "It was over a year," I whispered. "It is still too much." I rubbed my palms on my jeans. "Mom says it was support." He shook his head sharply. "No, support is offered. This was taken." He leaned closer. "Cassidy, you've been subsidizing an entire household." "I know," I said. Though the words trembled, I just didn't want to fight them. "You do not need to fight," Victor said. "You need boundaries." My eyes burned. "They won't listen." "They will when the money stops." His voice was calm, almost gentle, and when the passwords change, and when the car title is clarified, and when you say no firmly without apologizing halfway through. I swallowed. I don't know if I can do all of that. You can. He tapped the legal pad, because you already faced the hardest thing, the truth. I looked at the document. It feels like betrayal. It is betrayal, he said, but naming it does not make you cruel. It makes you free. I breathed in slowly. Okay. Then I'm going to do something about it. Victor nodded, pride softening his features. Good. And when they push back, because they will, I'll be right here. A small, unsteady breath escaped me. Thank you, I said. He squeezed my hand once, firm and certain. Go home, he said, and start with the passwords. I went home that afternoon and opened every account tied to my business. My hands shook, but not from fear, something sharper, something overdue. One by one, I changed passwords, payment portals, bank logins, cloud storage, social access. Brielle had insisted she needed to manage my aesthetic. Each time the confirmation box popped up, something inside me steadied. When I finished, I opened a new document and titled it exactly what it was, Unauthorized Usage Record, Cass Hale Studio. I attached the spreadsheet, screenshots, and notes Victor had encouraged me to add. I saved it as a clean PDF. Then I opened the family group chat. My message took only a few sentences. Here are the receipts for everything I have paid toward the house and every business charge taken without my consent from the past year and a half. Total is $22,740.63. I will no longer fund household expenses. I will no longer participate in Brielle's marketing. The Subaru must be returned by Friday at 6 in the evening. This is my boundary. I hit send. The chat exploded instantly. Evelyn wrote first. You are threatening your own mother. Shame on you. Brielle followed. You are seriously losing it over a car. Grow up. Cass. Lawrence added a single line. Let's calm down. I closed the chat without replying. The next 2 days passed in tense silence, at least on my end. They sent message after message. I didn't open most of them. I worked at the studio until after midnight, painting names on tiny glass houses, focusing on clean lines and even strokes. The quiet helped me breathe. On Friday, 5:58 rolled around. The Subaru still hadn't appeared. At 6:18, headlights swung into the lot. Brielle stepped out, keys dangling from her fingers. Tank's empty, she said, and someone scratched it at a chute. Not my fault. She tossed the keys. I caught them against my chest. You should thank me, she added. I kept your business relevant. I snapped photos of the scratch. My voice stayed level. You can go. She huffed and climbed into an arriving rideshare. When the car pulled away, my phone buzzed. Victor, proud of you. Call tomorrow. I pressed my forehead against the Subaru's cool roof, breathing in the quiet that finally felt like mine. Victor insisted we meet at his house on Sunday morning. No brunch, no ceremony, just a table, coffee, and the truth. When I walked in, everyone was already seated. Evelyn sat upright, arms crossed tightly. Brielle stared at her phone, refusing to acknowledge me. Lawrence hovered near the doorway, like he wanted to disappear into the frame. Victor tapped the folders in front of him. Let's begin. Evelyn exhaled loudly. Dad, this is unnecessary. Cassidy overreacted, and you are enabling it. Victor opened the first folder. My PDF. We are reading numbers today, not emotions. He adjusted his glasses. Cassidy has paid the household a total of $22,740.63 in the last 18 months. Evelyn's mouth tightened. Families help each other. This was not help, Victor said. This was extraction. Brielle scoffed. She's being dramatic. Victor continued reading. Creator growth charges, engagement boosters, Influencer toolkits. Orders refunded without her consent. He glanced up. Brielle, did you process those refunds? Brielle shifted. I was improving her brand. She should be grateful. People like her need visibility. Victor's voice cooled. Visibility does not require theft. Evelyn slammed her hand on the table. Stop using legal terms. This is family business. Victor raised a hand calmly. Family should be the last place you encounter misuse, not the first. A long, dense silence followed. Victor turned to me. Cassidy, tell us what you want. My heart thudded, but my voice stayed steady. I want the charges to stop. I want a repayment plan, and I want clear boundaries. My studio is mine. The car is mine. My income is not communal property. Evelyn laughed, brittle and stunned. You sound like a stranger. After everything we've done for you, you raised me to be useful. I said, not respected. Brielle finally looked up. So what happens to me? I was counting on collaborations. If you cut me out, my engagement, Victor cut in. If your brand needs your sister's money to survive, it is not a brand, it is dependence. Brielle's eyes watered, then hardened. Whatever. I will figure it out. Victor opened the second folder and slid a document toward me. Years ago, I set aside a creative development trust. It was meant for the family, but after watching how family needs have been defined here, I am assigning it fully to Cassidy. Evelyn lurched forward. You cannot reward her tantrum. Victor didn't flinch. I am rewarding her work. Lawrence spoke for the first time, voice small. Maybe Cassidy could still help with the house after no. I said, I will bring groceries when I can, but I will not fund the house. Evelyn pointed at me, shaking. You owe us. I owe myself more, I said quietly. Victor nodded once, firm and final. This meeting is over, and for the first time in years, it felt like something was finally beginning. 2 weeks after the meeting at Victor's house, I signed the lease for a small corner studio in Echo Park. The windows were tall enough to let the morning light spill across the floor. For the first time in years, I felt like I was stepping into something that belonged only to me. Nadia, my neighbor from the old studio, helped me carry racks inside. This space fits you better, she said, wiping her forehead. You look lighter. I feel lighter, I admitted. On my second day, a girl with a backpack full of markers and paint pens knocked on the open door. Are you hiring? She asked shyly. Part-time, I do clean lettering. Straight lines, better than most adults. That so I asked? She nodded. Name's Juno. I saw your work at the market. I laughed softly. You're hired. Working with Juno felt effortless. She hummed while she labeled boxes and corrected my crooked display signs without hesitation. A few days later, Lawrence stopped by, hands buried in his jacket pockets like always. Your mother is processing, he said. I'm sure she is. He nodded toward the shelves. Your grandfather keeps telling everyone he knew you'd land on your feet. He helped me stand. I said. Lawrence placed 2 fisherman ornaments on the counter. These are for him. He'll like them. He paid in cash and left quietly, like a man trying to choose the right side without saying it out loud. Later that week, Brielle walked in alone. She kept her sunglasses on. I need a gift, she said. For a friend. I handed her a tiny camera ornament, full price. She hesitated, then pulled out her card. No argument. When she left, Juno whispered. That was tense. It was honest. I said, and for once, honesty felt like relief instead of risk. On Christmas Eve, I closed the studio early and carried a box of imperfect ornaments to the senior center down the block. Little smudges, uneven lines, hats slightly crooked pieces I never sold. The volunteers gasped like I had brought treasure. These are perfect to us, one of them said, hugging me so tightly I laughed. Walking back to the Subaru, I felt the kind of warmth money never bought. The tank was full. The scratch had been repaired. Victor had insisted on covering the cost, calling it an investment in honesty. I drove toward my apartment, passing my parents' house on the way. Their windows glowed with the curated warmth Brielle loved for her filming, and there she was, standing by the tree, smiling into her phone, adjusting the angle until everything looked right. I slowed the car, but didn't stop. For a long moment, I watched the version of my family they showed the world, carefully lit, perfectly posed, beautiful in a way that cost me more than $22,000 and far too many years. Then I turned the wheel and kept driving. When I reached my building, my phone buzzed, a message from Victor. "Proud of you. Merry Christmas, kiddo." I sat there with the engine running, the soft hum settling something deep inside me. If you've ever had to rebuild yourself from the inside out, piece by piece, then you understand exactly what that moment feels like. And if you've followed my story this far, stay close. There is more to tell, more to reclaim, more to learn about the quiet power of choosing yourself. For tonight, though, I carried my box upstairs, locked the door behind me, and let the silence belong to me.